welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson. Thank you for joining me, and I want to encourage you, as always, to come to CourtneyAnderson.com where there's more information, and you can certainly share any feedback, show suggestions, ideas with me. So thank you for being here. Today's show is part of our Help! Situation Spotlight series. And of course, this is a series that's somewhat self-explanatory. People ask for help. Community members reach out and ask me questions for feedback, and this comes through all different conduits. So sometimes there are issues or questions that people have asked me as a lawyer when I'm practicing law, or there are questions that someone might have asked me as a professor. There are questions someone might have asked me certainly at a speech I've given, or a keynote, or a corporate education program. There's might be an email or a follow-up that someone's sent about a show. So they come from you. So please keep the questions, concerns, issues coming so that I can do everything in my power to try to come up with solutions. That's what the show's title is, and that's what actually the purpose of this is to sort of share the knowledge and ideas that I have to be of assistance and help people. Again, we always talk about surpassing your goals. So, of course, we got an issue. Somebody's asked for help, and the specific issue that this episode is addressing is, how do I know if someone is really my friend? How do I know if someone is really my friend? And, it's interesting. Some of the things that we cover in different episodes may appear, at least initially, to be, really simplistic. And so there's a lot that we do that's very high level with organizations or legal questions or, business issues, organizational change, things of that nature. But a lot of the things that might seem simple on the face of them are actually pretty complicated and are important to people. So the whole idea of friendship is beautiful. When you sit down and you're working on creating, the show content, and you start thinking about friends, it should bring to most of us to mind some positive experience, hopefully, that we've had. And I don't care if the last positive friendship experience you had was, 20 years ago in second grade. Hopefully there's been at least one positive friendship experience. And the reason I say hopefully is because the idea of having someone that is a friend that you can trust, that you can share your innermost secrets and fears and insecurities with, someone who you sort of remove all of your security apparatus that we use, the mask that we put on when we go and we deal with the world, because we're trying to do everything we can to protect ourselves, and to have someone that we can trust enough in our real lives to let them see who we are, to let them know what we really think, what we're really scared of, what our fears are, and what our secret dreams are. It's a big deal. It's a level of intimacy, of emotional and psychological intimacy, and having a bond with someone where it's reciprocated, where, you share, they share, you trust them, they trust you. It's beautiful. It really is. It's lovely. It's one of the most fantastic parts of being a human, right? Is this the social part, the connecting, the bonding with someone. So again, I hope that as we begin to talk about this, you think about something that's a positive friendship example. And again, I'm not arguing about how long ago it was. I don't care who it was. I don't care if you think about the person. Maybe you have someone right now as your best friend, or you have a couple of people who are the most awesome friends ever. Some people have their professional situation in life where their friends are there. Legitimately, people say, look, my boss, my team member, my business partner is my best friend. That's awesome. In many instances. I mean, there's potential perils, but that's for another show. Some people will say, hey, my personal life, my spouse is also my best friend. And again, there's arguments that there's peril in that, but there's also arguments that could be awesome, right? Like, how awesome could that be? This idea that there's someone that I can just cut through all of my concern about what how they perceive me, about what would be, the right thing to do, what would be the professional thing to do, and just really tell people what I really think, who I am, and what I'm dealing with in my mind. It's a big deal. And it also creates that opportunity. We do many programs dealing with this idea where people feel invisible, right? Where people feel like nobody really sees them. No one really understands them. They're just sort of pass through life. They have interaction with people maybe, but they're not feeling or perceiving or getting the results where they feel like they really matter, right? So this idea of the friend, it does so much. It gives us a place where we really matter. Where this real friendship, the person is asking, how are you? And it's not just sort of a platitude, right? They really mean, how are you? And because they're your friend, you can really answer. So you don't just say, they say, how are you? And you say, oh, fine. No, if they say, how are you? And they're your friend, you're going to really tell them, well, I told you the other day, my stomach was hurting. And then this morning, when I woke up, you'll really tell them. And there's some magic to that almost, right? Because again, it gives us that feeling, that connection, interrelated, to others. That, again, we matter and they matter. So if we ask them, how are you? We're not just, again, being friendly, how are you doing today? But we really mean it. How are you? And then if they want to take, 5 minutes or 5 hours to tell us, I want to hear it. And if they're a friend that you've had over time, the great thing about that type of friendship is you have the whole backstory, right? It's like you go to read a sequel or watch a sequel of a movie, but you've already seen like the first 4 parts. So you know what happened with that person that they're talking about. You know what the history is. And it's great. It really is, because it does, again, vividly bring to life all of the things that I think at a very social element for who we are as people matter. And the lack of friendship, it can be devastating. And we, again, there's a lot of programs and resources about that, but there has to be, or there should be, some interaction with friendship. Someone, even if there's not anyone currently, maybe you're in a new job, a new town, a new area, and you don't really know anyone yet. That's okay. Do you have anyone that you've experienced? Some people in certain times in life are animals, or our plants are our friends. That's okay. But you just need to feel, ideally, we like to focus on, at some level, some sort of human reaction, just because the response and the reciprocation is a little bit more enhanced than it would be with some of our other friendships. But that emotionally can be very satisfying, but it's, it's, again, having someone to ask, how are you, and mean it. Having someone for you to ask, how are you, and mean it. So it's beautiful. The challenge, though, is here's this precious, important, empowering thing. And again, we know that there's so many benefits to it. There's studies and data about not just the emotional and psychological positive consequence, but literally sort of physical positive consequences of reduced stress, the ability to have excitement about being part of other people's lives and joy and success. And I did mention a few minutes ago that some people have, their most treasured friend, and also it's their romantic partner, and that can be in some instances awesome. The other flip side of that are there are people who maybe have relatives, people they work with, and romantic partners and spouses, but they're not friends. And I certainly know when I used to do divorces as an attorney, the lack of friendship is something that people struggle with, and it can sometimes lead to the end of a marriage, because the person says, we're not friends, and it may sound weird because people who would think, especially for myself, I've never been married, but I would think, wow, what do you mean you're not friends, right? Like you're like super roommates, right? You took vows to love and cherish each other. I don't understand, but the reality is that it can work out where maybe somebody was your friend and they're not anymore, or maybe they never really were. And without that sort of base foundation of trust, honesty, again, where both of you can ask, how are you? And it means something. Where the person's invested in you. They've invested in you emotionally in terms of time. The absence of that, again, it can destroy certainly relationships and marriages. It can destroy businesses, of course, which is the breakup of a family business or small business, or even a big business, right? So this is important. And I've done many other programs. I personally have shared, I'm very introverted. I'm an idea person. I get a lot of energy from ideas. When I'm around people, I enjoy it, especially people that I care about and respect. It's just that it drains my energy. So I'm not an extrovert where I just need to be around lots and lots of people to get my energy up. It's just that I love being around people that I care about and I'm interested in, that I respect. It's just that over time it diminishes my energy, so I need to go then get some more idea time, thinking time, reading time to get my energy back up. That doesn't at all impact the concept that we need friends. We need some sort of friends. We may not always have them in our lives. Again, it may be a time in our lives where we just don't. I certainly have moved a lot in my life, especially growing up. And so there are times you literally don't know anybody and you don't have any friends, and that's okay. The reality, though, in this episode is, how do I know? How do I know if someone is really my friend? So here, let's start with this. In the show notes, I've just restated again the episode title. How do I know if someone is really my friend? And then I answered it. The behavior of a friend is based on the foundation that your happiness is their happiness. Any behavior to the contrary indicates that they are not, yet or still, a friend. So let me, one more time. How do you know someone's really your friend? The test is pretty simple. Their behavior, if they're a friend, is based on the foundation that your happiness is their happiness. What does that mean? I'm your friend, and I ask, how are you? Right? We just talked about that. And you go and start talking for 2 hours about what happened, with somebody that you used to date and your boss, and your cat's not well. Because I'm your friend, I care. So if you're upset about your cat, I may not have a cat. I may not even know your cat that well, but you're my friend. So you're unhappy because you're worried about your cat. So my concern is your happiness. So I'm going to ask, is there anything I can do? Do you want me to come with you to the vet? Can I get you some medicine for your beautiful cat? What do you need from me? It's not necessarily that I totally understand exactly how you feel about your cat. Obviously, I don't. A, it's your cat, and B, I may not even have a cat, or I may have a different type of cat. The issue is, I want you to be happy and healthy. So happiness doesn't mean I want you, if you say to me that you'd be so happy if you could go out and abuse, drugs and alcohol, that I'd say, great, let me bring you over more drugs and alcohol. No, you're not healthy and happy. Right? You're being abusive when you abuse drugs and alcohol. So, your actual happiness, you're healthy, you feel good about yourself, you're making choices with good outcomes, you're having emotional growth, you're having professional growth, you're having, psychological health and happiness. That's what I'm looking for. Like, what's the best for you? That's what I want. So everything I'm going to say and do is going to be based on that, right? So if you say to me, hey, I'm so happy to talk to you. I got to tell you what's going on with my cat. And I say, oh, okay. And then I say something like, you know what? Oh, gosh, I really would love to hear more about it, but I'm really busy. Let's try to catch up sometime later on, like next month or whatever. Okay, I'll check with you and let you know, when I'm free. Okay, that is showing you a couple of things. A, you're not a priority in my time. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm busy right now, I'm in the middle of something, let me call you back in an hour, let me call you back later today. It's another thing to sort of brush you off totally and say, hey, let's follow up sometime later, I'll get back with you. That means you're not a priority in my time. The core drive of my friend's behavior is my happiness is their happiness. You see this? So when they're polite, but they don't really have time for me, at all, at any time, a definitive time. They may say, hey, I'm going to call you later, my son is sick and, let me go run this errand and see what's going on with this. And then they may call me back later and say, hey, I've only got 15 minutes because, he's sick and I've got something else I've got to deal with, but I wanted to make sure I called you back. Are you okay? Let me go ahead and call you first thing in the morning or call you later. They're showing you through their behavior. This is so important. Not what you think that they're going to do, not what you hope they're going to do, not you trying to imagine maybe what happened, but their definitive behavior. I have called you. I'm going to call you back tomorrow. I'm worried about you. What can I do for you? And then they come and do something. If you say to them, oh, it would really help me, could you go by and get that liver, at the store that I showed you I always get for my cat because I can't leave right now? Sure, no problem, I'll do that. It's their behavior. And this is something that's really important because this comes up in so many programs. If you're asking yourself what the behavior means, right? What did it mean when they said they'd call me back later? What did it mean when they said they were happy to hear from me? What did it mean? If you're asking that question, you have the answer. In other words, if someone is your friend, again, your happiness is their happiness. So that means they give you time and attention, right, to the best of their ability, of course. Something else going on, they're going to call you, text you, whatever. Hey, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I wanted to follow up with you. I'll get back with you later tonight, first thing in the morning, whatever. But they let you know they care. Not in your mind that you think they care, but there's tangible action. There's behavior that shows your happiness is their happiness. If the person's engaging in behavior that's contrary, right, the opposite, against, if it's different from your happiness is their happiness, anything that's not showing you that, then it indicates they are not, at this moment, your friend. Maybe they were your friend in the past. Maybe they'll be your friend in the future. I don't know. You don't know. But right now, they're not. Why? They didn't answer your phone call. If you say, oh, I left messages and I haven't heard from them in a week. Okay. Now, could there be an instance where they're, you haven't heard from them in a week, but you left out that, oh, they're, right now in Antarctica at some scientific exploration area where they have no communication for 6 months? Well, then, of course, you didn't hear from them because they didn't even get your message. But if they got your message and they're not, in a coma or in a hospital or something and they didn't respond at all for quite a while, then that means they didn't want to respond. Now, it could be they have a lot on their plate, and that's not them being dishonest. But the reality is they don't have time right now or the ability to be as much of a friend for you as you'd like. It may be that they've moved or got a new job or had triplets or gotten married or gotten divorced or whatever. Who knows? But the deal is that right now they're not able to give you the time, the attention, the support, the nurturing that would be ideal. And that's okay because that'll happen to you too. How do I know they're my real friend? What are they doing? Is the question, right? I keep talking about behavior. That means what are they doing? What do they say? What do they do? If what they say and do demonstrates your happiness is their happiness, then they're your friend. If what they say and do, or don't say and do, right? Like you haven't heard from them. They said they would come over, they never show up. Their behavior, if it does not demonstrate your happiness is their happiness, they're not your friend right now. Again, doesn't mean they couldn't be in the future. Doesn't mean they weren't in the past. It just means that at this moment, for whatever reasons, they're not. And that's okay, because again, that'll happen to you. You'll be dealing with things at times where you're not the friend that you should be to your friends, and that's okay. Because when you recognize that, then you're going to go ahead and you're going to apologize to the person, take action to change their behavior and show, again, their happiness is your happiness. What do I mean by that behavior? If somebody calls you and they want to talk to you and they let you know that, or they send you a text or email or post on your Facebook or whatever, then that's a clue that they want to hear from you. How? Because they behaved in a way to show you that. If you just ignore them for whatever reason, intentionally, because you don't want to talk to them, if in your head you're thinking, golly, I'd call her, but every time I get on the phone with her, she talks for like 2 hours about nothing. I'm sick of hearing about her cat. Okay, look. Your needs, of course, are primary. in your existence. And in some ways, of course, they have to be. So you need to make sure that you're eating and drinking enough fluids to stay alive. That's one of your needs. You also have a lot of emotional and psychological needs that ideally you need to do everything in your power to meet them. You need to also be aware that a friend, a true friend who cares about your happiness, is rare. These are not easy, average, everyday connections with the majority of people you meet for a multitude of reasons. Many people, your happiness is not their not happiness because they don't even like you. You know, they look at you and maybe they think your clothes are silly, or they don't like your way your voice sounds, or they think your face is stupid, or I've had so many people tell me literally all those things, the reasons they don't like me. Okay, fine, I can't do anything about that. That says a lot about that person and how they make decisions and how they judge other people, but I can't do anything about that. So they discount me as a friend. There are other people who maybe they would be interested in my friend at some point, but they think I talk too much, or I don't talk enough, or I'm too quiet, or I'm too loud. They think I'm too funny and try to take attention, or I'm not funny enough. I mean, who knows? But it's all through their own filtering. So there's a multitude of reasons that the majority of people are not your friends. It's not personal. It's the same reason you're not friends with every single person, every neighbor you see, everybody at the mall that you walk past, everybody at the grocery store, everybody at your dry cleaner, everybody at the, you're not friends with all of these people. Now, it might be that you're friendly, that you walk through a shop that you go to often and you see the person maybe who works there and helps you with your purchase, and you might say, "Hi, how are you doing?" And really mean that, because you see them and you've gone through their area of the store many times, but it doesn't mean you're going to stand there for 4 hours and listen about what happened with their with their pet bird, and when their grandma was mean to them. You don't have that level of investment. Again, investment, time, attention. And that's okay, because, obviously if we were all intimate, deep friends with everybody we interacted with, nothing would ever get done, right? Because you'd have so many different priorities to try to meet. Remember all these needs. Because if I'm a friend and they need me, then I have to find a way to get to them and listen and be there and support them, and they're going to do the same for me. But, there's only 24 hours in a day. There's, most of us have, we have to sleep and we have to eat, and then we may have our own, work, whether it's paid or volunteer, and there's a lot that needs to happen. You couldn't have, literally, there's billions of people on the planet. You can't have all of them that you're thinking about and worrying about all the time. It's just not logistically possible, So there's going to be a small amount of people, and it's going to change. Now, there are going to be some people that you may have met when you were 4 years old and you lived in the same town and went to the same schools, and you're still friends today, and you've been friends for 60 years. That's awesome. There are other people who moved around a lot and never were in the same town long enough. They don't even remember where they lived, when they were 4 years old. So there was no logistic way for them to stay in touch with people. And that's okay. And there's some people who you were really great friends with for 20 years, and then, quote, they changed, which happens. Because guess what? You change, I change, they change, we all change. And in a lot of ways, we don't change that much at all. A lot of the core issues of our personality are so habitual. But life can change, right? There's somebody that we knew that we used to love to go do exercise and fitness together, and we would always go to the gym, and it was so great. And then for whatever reason, now they don't do that any longer, and they're not into exercise or fitness at all, and they never go to the gym, so we can't do that any longer together. That's okay. When I keep saying that's okay, what I mean is this. One, you need to be realistic. Very few people in anyone's life that you meet, interact with, spend time with are going to be your friend. I'm including everybody. Relatives. I'm serious. Some people say, "Oh, my sister's my best friend," and it's legitimately the truth. That's awesome. Again, that's not everybody. Many people have sisters that they will tell you, "I don't even really know them. We're not friends at all." That's okay. There's no requirement or expectation. Just because someone has a certain relationship with you doesn't automatically mean they should be your friend. You can be friendly and respectful of somebody, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their happiness is your happiness, that you're that invested in your time and attention and support. One person is a lot of work. You individually are a lot of work, taking care of yourself, the basics, right? Food, hydration, some kind of shelter, some sort of way to support yourself. It's a lot of work, just you. And then, of course, if you add on, how many other responsibilities do you have? And then you add on a real friend that you're really invested in. the challenge with someone's really your friend is your happiness is their happiness. So if something bad happens to you, then your friend feels it, and they really feel it. I tend to be very empathetic, right? Like I feel things very passionately. There's an upside to that. I can be very excited and passionate and sort of share that with an auditorium or an audience and really sort of get other people to sort of at least acknowledge the level of passion that I have. But it works the other way too. So if I'm invested in someone and something bad happens to them, right, then their happiness is my happiness, and I'm unhappy too. And some of the things that happen to other people we can't fix, right? Somebody's grieving, somebody died, somebody's been, a victim of a horrible crime. There's been a natural disaster, a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake. Somebody was treated cruelly, right? They were fired or they were divorced or cheated on. I mean, their pain is my pain. So part of the reason why, of course, the logistics of we can't have everyone in the world as our friend is also the depth of these emotions. They take a toll on us. There's a lot of work in nurturing another person. Their happiness is my happiness. But there's also the other side that if something bad happens, I'm feeling it too, to a lesser extent, of course. But I'm impacted so much by it. I want to try to help and fix it. If I can't fix it, I just need to sit with them and experience that pain. It's a lot to take on. Of course, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. But I think sometimes I talk to people about this topic, and they'll say, yeah, I thought she was my friend. It turns out she's just a fake, and she was never my friend at all. Okay, well, why did you think that she was your friend? I'll ask this question. Well, I mean, she said she was. No, but what was her behavior? Did she call and check on you? Did she spend time with you? Did she stop by and see you? Depending on the logistics, did she, text you or reach out to your, social media? Did she listen to you when you needed her? Was she there for you when you asked her to? Did she ask you how you were doing? I mean, these are all the behavior. Don't tell me what they said. Words, as we talk about in so many programs, words are almost meaningless. They're not totally meaningless, but they're almost meaningless. Because I can say something, and it can be totally a myth, a lie, a fallacy, a dishonesty. Maybe I'm acting and saying I'm your friend because you're really my manager at work, and I want you to give me a good performance evaluation, but I'm lying to you. I don't really like you at all. Maybe I'm saying that you're my friend because I'm asking to borrow money from you, and I want you to give me the money. You have to look at the totality of their behavior. If you tell me that you think someone's your friend, the first thing I'm going to ask you is tell me about the last 10 times that you interacted with them. And then if you start to tell me things like, well, I did leave a message. Well, she didn't ever get back to me. And, she did follow up with me a little bit later because she said she needed some money because her car broke down. And no! Your happiness is their happiness. And of course, the horrible flip side of that is not horrible, but that it takes a toll on us, right? We only have so much. There's only so much time. There's only so much that we can give. And we can give everything to another person. It's just that if at some limit, we all, we have finite resources. So if they're your friend, don't tell me that you thought they were your friend and now you're shocked and dismayed and angry and having a fit because they're so mean and the world is horrible and they're horrible people. Yeah, but they were horrible people probably all along. And if we start talking about it and I tell you and I say, give me the last 10 interactions, and you start giving them to me, and most of them, if not all of them, are showing me they're not your friend, then you can't sit here and get mad and have a pity party because they're horrible people. No, they're not. They may be, I don't know. But, we do so much about the reality, pragmatic, right, as the world as it is. So, yes, do people tell you what you want to hear when there's a power imbalance, whether it's at work, right? Maybe you're their boss or they're your boss. Maybe they're trying to get something from you. Maybe they want a loan or they want some other resource you have. Yeah, that's just nature of life, humans, right? But you shouldn't have invested all of this in someone that that you really don't know. Sometimes they'll say, "What are the last interactions?" And you'll say, "Well, I've never had 10 interactions. I've only talked to them twice." Well, then they weren't. You didn't have enough time to even see or develop a friendship or invest in each other. So it's not realistic. If they're insulting you, if they're making fun of you, if they're doing sort of that passive-aggressive, oh, yeah, that's cute. If you were a grandmother or a great-grandma, that's not your friend. They just were mean to you. I think maybe this is a whole different program, and I know it is, in fact. And there's no misinterpretation of this stuff. If they're saying mean things to you, they're not just quote joking. They said it. They're repeating it, right? These sort of insults or putting you down, or you're around other people and you say, oh, I really like that movie, and then they say in front of you and everybody else, well, of course you would. You always like stupid stuff. Really? That's your friend? No. It doesn't mean they're your sworn enemy and that you need to go around and react in some horrible way. The easy thing is this: as long as they're showing in their behavior, not in what you think, but their actual behavior, that your happiness is their happiness, then you reciprocate that, assuming you like them, of course. If you don't like them, then you make sure that they aren't given the opportunity to invest too much in you, because you're not going to be able to be their friend, right? It takes a friend to be a friend. If you don't really want to be their friend, then, and that's okay, because that happens, right? Then you just cut back and you let them know. You do exactly what we talked about earlier. So they call or text or whatever, or reach out to you, and you either get back and say, oh, I got a lot on my plate, let's follow up in a couple of months, or, whenever, we've got some time. You make it clear, like, you're not my everyday best friend. We're not going to be communicating at a very intimate level. When they share things with you, then you don't reciprocate and share your fears and deep concerns, because you're not their friend. So you limit their time, you limit their exposure, you show that you're not investing what they're investing, and then they should hopefully learn to go find someone who is interested in being their friend. But as long as they're interested in showing you their behavior, they're your friend. How are you? Oh, that happened. Oh, I'm going to sit down and catch up. What's going on? And they're listening and they're talking and they're sharing and remembering, and you're asking and sharing and remembering. You both are equally invested in being friends. Not that you are going to be able to give the same amount of time at the same time period, but you're both interested and you care, right? Then as long as they keep showing their behavior is that your happiness is their happiness, and you're showing that your behavior is their happiness, your happiness, then you just keep doing that. And that's the lifelong friendship, or as long as it is. If their behavior changes, they used to be your friend, right? Respond, spend time with you, care, ask how you're doing. Now they're not, then that's okay. You don't know what's going on totally in their lives. You just sort of pull back, again, with your time and investment and wait and see what happens. If they change their behavior and now they are acting like they used to and they're calling and checking on you and spending time with you, okay, then you respond. Although I would mention to them that you're concerned about, when the behavior change, and see if they can give you a reasonable explanation for that, because it's not fair to have your feelings hurt and be disrespected, especially if it's a habit where people sort of pick you up as a friend and then throw you down, and then pick you up as a friend and then throw you down. Like, don't do that, because that's not a friend, right? Because they're hurting you, right? Your friend's happiness is predicated on your happiness. So it's really kind of simple, right? So they're demonstrating through their behavior that your happiness is their happiness. You're demonstrating through your behavior, and you just keep doing that. If they stop doing it, then you stop doing it. Right? So you're not calling and leaving 8 messages or sending 15 texts and they haven't responded, because they're not. The fact that they didn't respond is the response. So leave it alone. Again, if that happens, I'd say more than a time or two, or something that's reasonable, they were out of town, somebody passed away, whatever, then you got to reevaluate, because it starts to be a pattern where your happiness isn't their happiness. Your happiness is only temporary, depending on what else is happening in their life, and then that's abusive. So it's really simple. You teach them how to treat you. If they're your friend, their behavior shows it. If they're not your friend, their behavior shows it, and that's okay, and that's easy. No confusion, no misunderstanding. Just watch them. There you go. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, again, you can come to CourtneyAnderson.com for more information.